We've already seen a few rematches in these college football playoffs, and once again, we will have another one. Two Big Ten teams will square off for the final spot in the college football playoff national championship game. Top seed Indiana will face Oregon. They're in the Peach Bowl. National championship spot on the line in Miami Gardens against the Miami Hurricanes. Welcome to Southeast Sports Plus. I'm Gerhard Mathangani, joined by Patrick Walsh. Patrick, this is an Indiana team that I think for a lot of people, this has been a refreshing boost to what college football can bring. I know a lot of people talk about what's wrong with college football. I think some of the things that has opened up with this transfer portal is the fact that there's a lot of flexibility with these players. Look no further than Indiana, who brought a lot of guys in from JMU. They have a few guys in from the transfer portal, including the Heisman Trophy winner, and now one step away from the college football playoff.
In my opinion, when you look at these teams that were in the semifinal, and I'll include Ole Miss into this, the only one that really doesn't have a storyline to root for is Oregon.
Yes.
Like I don't really see a storyline that everyone can rally around. I mean, Indiana's is pretty obvious. We'll get into that one here in a minute. But Miami's was, well, you know, a lot of people thought they shouldn't have been in the playoff, and now they're in the national championship. And then Ole Miss, obviously, with Pete Golden taking over for Lane Kiffin and that. But I don't really see a storyline for Oregon. I mean, maybe you lose your quarterback to the draft, and then you have Dante Moore, who honestly, in my opinion, is probably better than Dylan Gabriel ever was. So it's just interesting. But yes, as you mentioned, this is a rematch, and I think I don't remember if I said this on or off the air yesterday, but teams in rematches in the college football playoff between two Power 4 teams, the team that won the first game are 0-4 in history.
Wow.
The only win was Ole Miss over Tulane, but obviously Tulane's they're a G5.
Right. So that bodes well for the Ducks, who lost 30-20 in their October 11th matchup there in Eugene. This one now obviously a neutral site game there at the Peach Bowl. I think that if you are a fan of college football, what Indiana's doing can set a new blueprint for how to really make your team like this very quickly, and that's go get a proven product and go put him in a system that he can go in and thrive. Kirk Cignetti, I've heard a lot about him and his background and whatnot in this year's run. He has a very much a business background, coached by Nick Saban, obviously, as were a lot of these coaches. We'll get to that storyline in a minute, but I feel like it all starts with Mendoza, and he's the Heisman Trophy winner. Obviously, he's just that. People obviously, some people make fun of kind of his mannerisms.
Right.
However, he's just a proven leader, and to me, he just doesn't make mistakes, and that's part of that's part of what Indiana does, and it's part of what he does. And I think he's a leader for a team. He's not going to blow you away with all of his statistics, but he's just solid everywhere.
And look at that second line, and this has been a major story throughout this entire season.
Wow.
Indiana was the losingest football program in America before this season. They had 715 losses. I think Northwestern now takes the cake, ironically, also in the Big Ten. But Fernando Mendoza has been that guy who has stepped up for Kirk Cignetti. I think a lot of people thought after Curtis Rourke left Indiana last year for the NFL draft, which I don't know where he's at now, so my apologies on that. But everyone thought Indiana was going to take a step back, and you look at some of the scheduling that they had last year. I mean, they didn't really play anybody, and then the whole topic was, well, when they play somebody like like Ohio State, and like Notre Dame, they crumbled in those games. And then the first time they played somebody and won was against this Oregon team. I mentioned teams in rematches are 0-4. If there's any team that's going to change that, it's this Indiana team, because, I mean, they dominated. I mean, absolutely dominated this Alabama team 38-3.
Absolutely. This is to me, I think what makes Indiana so great, and we talked about how Oregon really doesn't have a storyline. In years past, they've kind of had a storyline, whether it was with their quarterback, when it was Marcus Mariota back in the day, and then they had a good running game back in the day there as well. I think this year's team is kind of faceless, so to speak. With this Indiana team, I had to go look it up just to make sure that it was right. They have 7 interceptions so far on the season and 6 fumbles. That is 13 turnovers all year. And they have 6 fumbles. They've only lost 1.
Wow.
They have 8 turnovers all year long and 13 times where they even put the ball in harm's way. You want to know about penalties? They average 27 penalty yards per game. 27. They have 50 penalties all year long for 380 yards. And it's 27 penalty yards per game. This team just does not beat themselves.
No.
And they take advantage of every one of your mistakes. They did so to Alabama last week. The one thing for Oregon in this game, they cannot beat themselves. Dante Moore cannot throw the ball in harm's way. They can't turn the ball over because what this team does, they will punish you every single time.
We'll get to Oregon in a minute, but, I mean, it's just so ironic that the guy that resembles Nick Saban the most has a team that is exactly like a Nick Saban coach team.
Right.
Doesn't really fumble the ball, doesn't turn it over, is great on defense, wins in the trenches. So, I mean, I'm just going to give him the nickname Nick Saban Signetti because since he took the Indiana job, he's 25-2.
Right.
Again, one of the most famous quotes probably of all time. Mm-hmm. It's going to go down in history in an introductory press conference. Him saying, "Google me, I win."
Yep.
Yes, he does win. He's lost in his coaching career, outside of his first year at JMU, he's lost 3 games in 3 years.
That's insane. That's absolutely insane.
Like, let's let that sink in for a second. 3 games, in 3 years.
Yes, and it's not like he took over at Penn State. You see
in the transfer portal era too, I might add.
Right, and I think it adds on to your point when you talked earlier about this was being the losingest program. I could see if he had turned around a team that already had some success.
Yeah.
Let's say he went to Southern Cal. Let's say he went to Michigan State.
See, he was the guy to go to Alabama.
Right.
What if that was the case?
Right. And there's a nice family dynamic there with the Signettis and the Sabans because Kirk Signetti's father, Frank Signetti, gave Saban a job.
Yeah.
And Signetti was a high school player when Saban was in his early days in coaching, and Coach Saban said that he was a cocky kid and whatnot. We've seen some of that. Arrogance might be too strong of a word, but definitely a bravado of I believe in our system, the players believe in the system, the fans believe in the system, and most importantly, the school believes in the system. That's why they locked a basketball school, locked up a football coach for $90-something million.
And it was such a smart decision. I also might add, since I went to West Virginia, he grew up in Morgantown. He was the quarterback at Morgantown High School there. I believe he was also the quarterback for the Mountaineers way back when. Before getting into coaching, obviously under Nick Saban, I believe his first head coaching job was IUP.
Yes, that's
right up the street from Morgantown.
Right.
So I mean, Morgantown has grown some of these great football talents. Nick Saban wasn't from Morgantown; he's from Fairmont, but that's the neighboring city, just about 15 miles down to the south. So
it's kind of a gold mine there, and steel and
don't sleep on the Mountain State, people.
In a miner's town. They have found 2 diamonds as far as coaching.
That's golden.
As far as coaching goes, with Coach Signetti and Coach Saban. Kirk Signetti spoke this week about his repetition, his team's getting better, and his philosophies. I tell you what, I can listen to this guy talk all day, especially about football, about structure, business, and the way he runs his program.
6 at the time. There's been 14 games. And teams improve, and why do they improve? Because of repetition. Repetition's a mother of learning, and then there's some schematic tweaks, but basically when you're successful and through repetition, guys are in the right place, it becomes secondhand, they react quicker, and then it's a matter of kind of managing the health of your team and a few other variables. So I don't have any idea what they're going to do. They don't know what we're going to do, and quite honestly, as I sit here right now, I know everything we've practiced, but I have no idea what that tape is going to look like the day after. And that's every game, what's actually going to get called, what'll work, what won't work, and what are they going to do different, and that's football.
So he talked about what you don't know, but there are some things that you do know because they played each other. And they played that first game, the game that Indiana won 30-20, the final score there, that game in October. And that game was at Austin Stadium in Eugene. I think it says even more about what Indiana is able to do here. As you take a look at that first game and you juxtapose it to what we're going to see coming up at the Peach Bowl, what are some of the things that come to mind your way?
I think this was the one time where this was the first time where we saw Indiana actually win a big game. So, that's got to be fresh on their minds. Now, at the same time, Oregon is coming off a thumping of their own against a good Texas Tech team. Let's not get that lost in translation either. That Texas Tech team this year was good. And they were able to shut them out in Miami Gardens, where they're going to try to be playing yet again here in the next 2 Mondays. I think this time around it's going to be a mirror image of the first game, but I don't know, because not only does Oregon have something to play for, obviously, because you're playing for the national championship.
Right.
But they've got a guy who's playing to be better, to be drafted higher than the guy he's going to go up against here in Fernando Mendoza. Dante Moore could honestly play himself into a top draft pick here come April. I
think Dante Moore is a really interesting character in this, because I think if you were to ask the casual football fan, how many Oregon players do you know? He might be one of the only ones for a lot of people. And I think that, for him, obviously people know their quarterbacks, but last time around, he threw 2 interceptions in this game when they played Indiana. I think that this is a telling game for him, because they scored 20 points in that game. They've obviously, done well offensively since then. I think they'll play with a chip on their shoulder. And then what's the counter move to what happened in that first game? I think that will be kind of the footprint for what we're going to see here in this one. He threw for 186 yards in that 30-27 win. And Oregon got a touchdown early. They did not get a touchdown until the fourth quarter. Sandwiched by 2 field goals there. So not a lot of scoring in the first one. You have to know Dante Moore is going to be fired up to show that game was a fluke, and what he's been able to do since then has been what he's normally able to do and what he's capable of.
Look, last night's game, I don't know if I don't know if it was better than the Sugar Bowl. That can be debated. Some people could say that it was, but there's no doubt that those have been the best 2 games of the season. This game is going to be just as good as last night's game,
agree.
in my honest opinion.
I agree.
And there's going to be so many similarities between both of these teams. It is going to come down to the final 5 minutes. And I wouldn't be shocked, just like last night, if there were 4 or more lead changes in that final quarter. But I think Indiana is going to be able to get it done.
So they'll be one of the only teams, P4 versus P4, in the rematch to get the win.
They were my national champion before the college football playoffs started. I was 1 play away from potentially having both of the national championship teams correct.
That's true, yeah.
Even though this is a rematch, I still think if anybody can break that streak of 4 straight teams losing, it's Indiana.
That's exactly right. Dan Lanning got a chance to talk about the game there as well. Obviously, that first game in the back of his mind as he prepares for the Peach Bowl.
In football, sometimes as coaches, you chase ghosts and you try to overanalyze things that happened before, but ultimately you try to stick to the same process you've used throughout the season. And just so happens you're playing the same team twice. Part of the reason that they're good is they're able to do the same thing over and over and over again really, really successfully. And that's one thing that's really clear about Indiana. They have an identity. They do their job extremely well. I'd hope you say the same thing about us as you watch Oregon. We do a lot of the same things over and over again really, really well. So it'll be a combination of those things and certainly some tweaks within that.